What is that face-off about? Well, the governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawalle, has accused the EFCC chairman, Abdul-Rashid Bawa, of demanding $2 million bribe from him and subsequently asked him to resign as chair of the commission. Of course, the chairman of the EFCC flatly denies the allegations, challenging him to petition appropriate quarters if, as he said, he had evidences. So, let's have a conversation around this with Malaki Ugumadu, who is former president, Committee for Defense of Human Rights. He joins us with Debo Adeniro, who is chairman, Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership. Both of them join us virtually. Mr. Adeniro from Osun State and Mr. Ugumadu from Ibadan. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let me begin with you, Mr. Ugumadu. What do you make of this this face-off between these two gentlemen?
But implementation needs to be strong.
Well,
now,
first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here and to intervene.
You need to have...
Go ahead, we can hear you. Mr. Agumadu, please go ahead, we can hear you.
From a positive point of
view, I'm already talking.
As a businessman,
I guess there's some audio challenges there, but most certainly something that is being worked on even as we speak. I don't know if it's the same with Mr. Adeniro. Mr. Adeniro, can you hear me?
Correct. So, even if government keeps subsidy...
We'll deal with that shortly, and we'll be right back on that conversation, but perhaps can give you a look at some of the slides we had prepared for this so that you have at least an idea of what the whole thing is about. We'll be right back. Let's give this another shot, shall we? Mr. Debo Adeniro, Chairman, Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership. Would you like to have a first go at this? Let's hear you. What was your take when you heard about this back and forth between the two gentlemen?
Thank you very much. I saw the manifestation of the Nigerian factor in the two gentlemen, one accusing the other of corruption. But then one is expected to be the deserve of anti-corruption struggle in Nigeria. And is supposed to come to equity with clean hands. And as a matter of fact, we were not surprised when Governor Matawalle came up with the allegation against the chairman of the EFCC, because since 2021, when he was about to be confirmed as the chairman of EFCC, the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, CACOL, wrote to the president. And we also wrote to the National Assembly that Abdul-Rashid Bawa should not be confirmed until, one, the former acting chairman of EFCC, Ibrahim Mago, is actually retired, dismissed, or, made to leave office. Two, that when he was head of operations in Port Harcourt, he was accused of selling about 244 trucks at a giveaway prices of 100 naira, 1,000 naira each, even when those trucks worth about 20 to 30 million naira each. We asked the president to ensure that Mr. Bawa discharged himself of those allegations, even if he's the best person that can occupy, that will occupy that space. But they did none of the above. Rather, the National Assembly went ahead to confirm him as the chairman of the EFCC.
Okay, just a second, Mr. Adeniro, because we have little time and quite a lot to say. But let me see if we can take Mr. Malaki Ugumadu now, who is former president of CDHR. Mr. Ugumadu, please go ahead. Your first take on this issue.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kayode, and good morning to viewers. My my take, it came across as it was reminiscent of the trajectory we have had in this country in the effort of Nigeria as a state to fight against corruption in this country. And usually it is accentuated in times of transition, particularly with respect to politically exposed public officers and state actors. Now, for me, that reinforces the inherent contradiction that I see in thinking that a state agency can indeed effectively fight corruption in an atmosphere, political atmosphere, in which government itself is seen as the most corrupt agency. But that's a debate for another day. However, you see, it does not stop at allegations at this stage. It is bad enough that where an individual, however highly placed, is called out or notified to be under investigation, the response usually, to the amazement of those discerning eyes, is not to categorically deny, but to begin to point fingers in the first instance at other people, and then on the person who is chasing him or her.
Well, Mr. Ogumadu, just a quick one, because as I said to Mr. Adeno, we really don't have so much time on this, but just a quick one on that, which you have just said. The governor of Zamfara State is a sitting governor, and going by the rule of law, I don't know what you would say of the position of the EFCC at this time. Well, yes, he is not under investigation yet as the governor, but I mean, to begin the process now while he is still in office, do you think is anything in line with or against the rule of law?
So let me, since we don't have time, let me quickly address that. Section 308 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, is what vests immunity on sitting executive officers in this country: president, vice president, governors, deputy governors. That does not preclude investigation. What the law, what the Constitution insists on is that they cannot be arrested, brought to court, or prosecuted with respect to offenses. That cannot stop them from investigating. The case of Ganifa establishes that up to Supreme Court. That said, under Section 15, subsection 5 of the Constitution, and I'm speaking about the fundamental objectives and directive principle of state policy, it insists that the Nigerian state shall deliberately fight corruption and abuse of public office. If you reconcile that with Section 4 of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, you will see that investigation can kick off at any time. In this particular case, I'm not sure we are talking about more than a week before they will all be divested of the immunities that they enjoy. But before the time runs out of me, my pain is, what do we want as a nation?
Indeed, a very instructive question there. What do we want as a nation? And we hope that, the new executives will reflect on that question. Let me come to you, Mr. Adeniro. Details from the explanation provided by the EFCC suggest that more than 100 companies received payments, from the fund, 70 billion naira, with no evidence of the jobs on the ground. I wonder what we know about what the public procurement process, how it works at the state level. Well, this is subject to confirmation, prosecution and a verdict by a competent court of law. But what do we know of the public procurement process at the subnational level? And should we begin to, as a result of this now, turn our searchlight on the procurement process at the state levels and see if there can be a review to ensure that this does not reoccur?
Well, thank you very much. We have really not established the fact that the allegations by the chairman of EFCC against the governor of Zamfara State is actually true or false. But then the procurement process should always be followed. And the reason why the process is not followed at different levels of government, at different MDAs, is because there hadn't been any disciplinary actions taken against those who circumvent that process in the past. The procurement office needs to be informed, and suppliers of goods or services will be asked to submit their quotations, and from this quotation, the quotations will be streamlined, to about 3 options. Then the bid, if it is contracts, the bids will be open in the open glare of the media, some civil society organizations, some agencies of government, to be sure that it is open and transparent, and the best bid will be paid. Okay? Yeah. And if these other people are to witness, to serve as witnesses to the quantity, quality, and capacity of the supplier of goods and services. If this were done, then we will have all the necessary tools to track and follow up with the project.
It sounds a lot to me like you're already lining up assignments for the National Assembly as they come in, the 10th National Assembly, because the first salvo you threw, initially about not following the due process duly would sound like something that needs to be taken a lot more seriously than we've had it. I guess we just have to wait and see how these events pan out between the two gentlemen. But for now, we have to thank you so much for your time this morning. Debo Adeniro is Chairman, Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership. He joined us from Osun State, as well as Malaki Ugumadu, who is former President, Committee for Defense of Human Rights, CDHR. He joined us from Ibadan, both of them virtually. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
Yeah. One quick time out. We have the last lap coming up right now. Stay with us.